Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh and good morning to everyone. So today we are going to study a new topic, okay, which is about biotechnology. Okay, so I hope you guys have read, okay, a little bit on what I have shared to you last night. Okay, so the first one is what is biotechnology? Okay, so biotechnology involve using living organism to carry out process that make substance that we want. Okay, so in simple, I would say we will use microorganism. Okay, so here it's a living organism, right? But for biotechnology, actually, we use microorganism. Micro means that the organism is very tiny in size. Okay, why we use living ataupun microorganism? Because we want to ask them, okay, we want to use them so that they can make substance, okay, that we want. For example, microorganism, they can produce medicine to us. Medicine maksudnya ubat lah. And microorganism also can produce us a hormone. So hormone or medicine are the one that we want. Okay. Okay, usually the term is only used when microorganisms are involved. Okay, other than microorganism, we also can use animal and plant. Okay, so that is biotechnology means. Okay, so it means that we use living organism, mainly microorganism lah, but at the same time we also can rely on plant and animal. Okay, to produce the substance that we want. Okay, the example of microorganism that we use usually yeast. Sebab apa? Yeast can be used to make bread, alcohol. And then kalau bacteria, bacteria is also the example of microorganism. Why we use bacteria? Okay, bacteria can make yogurt and cheese. You have to remember, bacteria can be good and can be bad. The good bacteria is the bacteria that can produce food to us. Okay. Lepas tu apa lagi ni dia cakap? Okay, other than that, we also will use microorganism, okay, to produce enzyme. To produce enzyme. So enzyme ni is important lah. Okay, it's important to break down the food. Okay, and so many things. Okay, so the next one. Okay, awak tengok yeast. Macam tadi cerita tadi yeast kan. Yeast is one of the organism that we use in biotechnology. So this is how the yeast cell looks like. Okay, awak tengoklah. Okay, dia ada mitochondria, dia ada vacuole, okay, cell wall, okay, cell membrane, and so on. Okay, so this is how yeast cell looks like under microscope. Okay, and then this is the this is how they looks like when you use electron microscope lah. Okay, so apa yang dia nak cerita kat sini adalah, okay, now why we use microorganism. Okay, so these are the several reason why we use microorganism in biotechnology and genetic engineering. Okay, tadi kita belajar pasal biotechnology kan. Sekarang ni ada terms yang baru that you should know, which is about genetic engineering. Apa yang dia cakap ni? Okay, today we still use microorganism to make this food, but now also use them to make any other substance such as enzyme. Lagi apa cakap? And in this 1970s, a new branch of biotechnology began when the scientists first found out how to take gene from one organism and put it into another one. And this is called genetic engineering. Okay, so maksudnya kat sini, genetic engineering involve, okay, for example, you have organism A, organism B. Okay, for example, organism A ni has a good characteristic. Okay, organism B ni dia bad characteristic. So, in order to achieve everyone, in order to make sure everyone has a good gene, what we can do is that we can use, okay, the gene from A and transfer them to B. Okay, so that is what we call genetic engineering. Okay, next, why we use microorganism in biotechnology and genetic engineering? These are the answer. Okay, awak tengok Bacteria and fungi are very small and are easy to grow in the laboratory. So they do not take up a lot of space. Okay, and they also will reproduce very quickly. They are able to make a huge range of different chemical substance. So when they are small, okay, we know that microorganism. Nama lagi microorganism. Micro means small. So they will not take up a lot of space. At the same time, it also can be reproduced quickly. No time apa? Tak perlu kita tunggu lama lah. Okay, the next one. No one minds what is done to the bacteria and fungi. Therefore, there is no ethical issue. Maksudnya kat sini, bacteria and fungi ni is a microorganism that everyone will not care if they die or they are survive. Because bacteria and fungi have no feelings. There is no ethical issue lah. Okay, unless kalau kita guna animal, kita guna manusia. Animal and human have feelings, right? So that's why it can involve ethical issue if we use such living organism. So that's why alternatively we use microorganism which are bacteria and fungi. Lepas tu apa dia cakap ni? Although bacteria cell are very different from animal and plant cell, in fact we are all share the same kind of genetic material, which is DNA. So remember, all living organism, tak kisahlah manusia ke, binatang ke, tumbuh-tumbuhan ke, even bacteria, they have DNA. Mesti ada DNA. So the genetic code is the same for bacteria as it is for human and all other organism. So we can take a gene from a human cell and place it to the bacteria and it works to produce human protein. So maksudnya, for example lah, human cell ni it can produce hormone. It can produce hormone. So in order to make artificial hormone, what we can do is that we take a gene from human and we take it out and we put in the bacteria. So bacteria ni apa karakteristik dia? It can reproduce very quickly. So when we put the gene yang boleh hasilkan hormon tu dalam bacteria, so right now the bacteria has ability to produce hormone. Bila dia produce hormone, when the bacteria can produce hormone, they can produce quickly. So can we get benefit from that? Yes. Okay, human protein tu including enzyme, including hormone and so on. Okay. Lepas tu, as well as their main DNA and their chromosome, bacteria has a little loops of DNA called plasmid. Okay, these are quite easy to transfer from one cell to another. So awak kena tahu dalam DNA bakteria ni ada suatu tempat nama dia plasmid. So plasmid ni adalah tempat yang mana kita letak gene kita tadi. Contohlah gene manusia tu nak hasilkan insulin ataupun hormon. So we take our gene and we put in the DNA of the bacteria. Specifically tempat yang kita letak tu adalah plasmid. They are quite easy to transfer from one cell to another. So we can use plasmid from moving gene from one organism to another. Okay, so contohnya adalah yeast ni lah. Okay, using yeast. Ni cikgu dah cerita tadi kan. Yeast ni, this is how it looks like. Okay, lepas tu yeast ni it will respire anaerobically. Anaerobically tu maksudnya without oxygen. Awak kena ingat ada dua respiration. Respire tu respiration lah. Respiration has two types, aerobic dan juga anaerobic. Kalau aerobic, aerobic tu ejaan ni awak buat an di depan ni. Aerobic. Kalau aerobic guna oksigen, kalau anaerobic dia tak guna oksigen. Sebab itulah kat sini you find no oxygen here. So maksudnya dia directly tukar. So what yeast will do is that the yeast will respire anaerobically where the glucose will be broken down into ethanol and carbon dioxide. Dia akan hasilkan glucose ni akan ditukarkan kepada ethanol dan juga carbon dioxide. And this process is also known as a fermentation. Okay. Okay, next. Ni nak cerita apa ni? Biofuel. Ini cakap apa ni? Okay, one alternative is to use plant to provide sugar, which yeast can break down from ethanol. Okay, the ethanol sometimes is called as a bioethanol, can be used as a fuel. So sekarang ni, when the yeast, okay, yeast tadi, dia respire anaerobically, right? Okay, so bila dia respire anaerobically, it will produce ethanol. So this ethanol can be can also be known as a bioethanol that can be used as a fuel. Kita boleh guna dia sebagai fuel. Fuel ni maksudnya bahan bakar lah. Sebagai contoh minyak dan sebagainya. Okay. So maize is one of the crops that can be used in this process, and it is first treated with the amylase enzyme which break apa ni? Okay, which break down, okay, store starch into glucose. Yeast is added and is allowed to use glucose in aerobic respiration. In anaerobic respiration. The ethanol that is produced can be extracted from the mixture of distillation. Okay, although the alcohol burns well, it does not contain as much as energy per liter as a fossil fuel. Even though awak tengok macam ni, dia cakap it can act as a fuel. Tapi the energy that we gain from this method is not as much as a original fossil fuel. Okay. Maksudnya energi yang dihasilkan tu tak sebanyak tu lah. Okay. The main advantage of using biofuel, biofuel tu yang tadi lah, yang kita guna yeast tu, dia akan hasilkan ethanol ataupun bioethanol, is that it is a sustainable resource. We can keep growing more maize and make more fuel. So macam ni, dia renewable resource lah. Sebab apa? Maize ni, once kita dah guna dia, we can replant them. So it also help to reduce the amount of carbon dioxide that we add to the atmosphere. Okay, although the carbon dioxide is produced when the biofuel is burned, the plant that will grow to make fuel took carbon dioxide from the air when they make sugar and starch by photosynthesis. So sekarang ni maize tadi, okay, dia akan hasilkan biofuel, betul tak? So biofuel tu akan membebaskan carbon dioxide. Right now it's okay because why? Because the remaining of the maize will absorb that carbon dioxide. For what? For photosynthesis. So maksudnya give and take lah. So this can reduce the amount of carbon dioxide in the air. However, there are arguments against the growing crops to make biofuel, and this crop, okay, can take up land that could otherwise be used to grow food for people. So maksudnya ada argument lah kononnya, bila kita guna method ni, it can take space, okay, to grow other food. Sebab makanan kita bukan saja jagung, maize kan. We also need a land to grow padi field contohnya, to grow vegetable and so on. Okay, so using large quantity of maize and other crops to make biofuel put up their price and making more expensive for people to buy food. So maksudnya some of the irresponsible seller, it raise the price, okay, of the biofuel. So this is not really healthy lah, okay, for the other people. Okay, and then making bread. Yeast, apa aku ni? So we also will use yeast, okay, to make bread. Okay, awak tengok bread is made up by flour. Ingat sebutan ni flour bukan flour. Tak percaya cuba Google. Okay, which is made by grinding, okay, the grain. Ni yang cara nak buat flour pun nak sebut So flour contains starch, obviously, and also protein. Okay, so protein yang ada dalam flour tu nama dia gelatin. To make bread, the flour is mixed with water and the yeast. Sebab apa kita guna yeast? Awak tengok ni. Amylase will break down some of the starch in the dough to make maltose and glucose, which the yeast can use in anaerobic respiration. Sekarang ni dalam kita punya gandum tu adanya starch, betul tak? Okay, so the starch will be broken down by amylase to produce maltose and glucose. So glucose ni akan digunakan by yeast to do anaerobic respiration. So consequently, the yeast will release carbon dioxide. So carbon dioxide ni, it will make the dough rise. Ni awak jangan. Okay, so carbon dioxide bubble cause the dough rise. Sebab itulah bila awak buat roti guna yeast, roti awak tu akan kembang. Sebab apa? There is a carbon dioxide. Okay, that will push up the dough. Roti tu. Kalau awak tak guna yeast, maksudnya awak punya roti tu akan jadi lembek lah. Okay, sebab apa dia tak ada yeast kat situ. Okay, anaerobic respiration also make alcohol, which is all broken down when the bread is baked. So maksudnya, if you notice, when yeast do anaerobic respiration, it also will produce ethanol. Ethanol tu alkohol lah. Tapi awak tengok, they are all broken down when the bread is baked. So maksudnya bila kita bakar roti tu, ethanol will be all gone. So at the same time, baking also will kill the yeast. So jangan risau, cikgu, kalau saya guna yeast, kalau saya makan roti nanti saya makan bakteria lah, cikgu. Saya makan microorganism lah. Okay, it's alright. Why? Because they are all will be killed. Cikgu, alkohol. Saya Islam, cikgu. Macam mana, cikgu? Tak boleh. Saya tak boleh makan alkohol ni. It's alright because the baking will eliminate ataupun will make all the alcohol ataupun specifically ethanol all gone. Okay, the next one, making of enzyme. Tadi kita cakap untuk buat roti, untuk buat biofuel. Okay, now we go in terms of make use of enzyme. So dia nak cakap apa kat sini? Microorganism are grown inside a large vessel called fermenter. Ni dia nak. Jap. Saya nak pasangkan ni. Allahu Akbar. Mana fermenter ni? Ni fermenter. Okay, tak apa, cikgu baca sini dulu dia cakap apa ni? Many different enzyme. Okay, ini betul ke kat sini? Okay. Many different enzyme are used in industry. Okay, most of them are obtained from microorganism. Okay, so we can use microorganism to produce enzyme. Okay, so the microorganism are grown in a large vessel called fermenter. Okay, fermenter ni is a place, tempat yang mana kita grow microorganism tu. Gambar dia macam ni. Allahu Akbar. Ni awak tengok ni, fermenter. Ni fermenter. So this is how fermenter looks like. So inside fermenter, we put so many microorganism. Why? Because we will ask them to produce enzyme. Macam mana proses dia? Okay, ni cikgu nak cerita ni. Okay, so apa sini? Okay, the microorganism are grown inside the large vessel called fermenter. Inside the fermenter, the microorganism are provided with everything they need to grow and reproduce. And this generally include oxygen, supply of nutrient, suitable pH, and suitable temperature. So inside fermenter tu, we will make sure the all microorganism get what they need. For example, oxygen. Oksigen untuk apa, cikgu? Oksigen untuk respiration. Respiration untuk apa, cikgu? Untuk dapatkan tenaga. Kenapa microorganism nak dapatkan tenaga? Sebab nak hasilkan enzyme. Okay, lepas tu a supply of nutrient. For example, glucose lah. Microorganism need glucose for what? For cell respiration. Suitable pH and suitable temperature. Lepas tu, the microorganism make the enzyme and release them into a liquid in which they are growing. So the liquid can be then be collected from the fermenter and the enzyme purified before use. So when the microorganism produce enzyme, okay, we can extract the enzyme, okay, for our own use. Okay, apa lagi dia cakap ni? Biological washing powder. So macam awak punya baju kan, Awak punya awak punya sabun basuh baju actually they have enzyme. Kenapa? Ini kita nak belajar ya. Biological washing powder. So biological washing powder contain enzyme as well as detergent. So dalam awak punya machine, awak punya sabun basuh baju ataupun deterjen awak tu ada enzyme. So detergent will help a greasy dirt to mix with the water so that it can be easily washed. Okay, the enzyme helps to break down the other kinds of substance which can stain the cloth. Okay, some of the enzyme are protease, which catalyze the breakdown of protein molecule. This help to remove the stain that is caused by protein such as blood stain. Okay, blood contain red protein hemoglobin. So the protease in the biological washing machine can break the hemoglobin molecule into small molecule which are not colored. Okay, and it will dissolve easily in the water and can be washed away. Okay, sebagai contoh, dalam baju awak tu terkena darah sebagai contoh. Okay, when your shirt has a blood stain, what you can do is that you use awak guna sabun yang mana dia ada enzim protease. Protease tu enzyme that will break down protein into amino acid. Amino acid tu benda kecil, betul tak? So when we use washing powder that has protease, this will enable the protease to break down, okay, the blood, okay, ataupun specifically it will break down the hemoglobin yang ada dalam blood tu into small pieces. Bila jadi kecil, it's easy for us to wash, okay, to remove the stain. Sama juga kalau ada stain tu is due to the lipid. Sebagai contoh, awak makan terkena, okay, baju awak terkena minyak. Bila awak terkena minyak, maksudnya adalah you should use, okay, washing powder that contain lipase. Sebab apa? Minyak tu ada lipid, ada fat, betul tak? So you use lipase. Apa fungsi lipase? To break down the lipid into fatty acid and glycerol. So bila dah jadi kecil, it's easy to remove the greasy stain. Okay, boleh faham? Okay, lepas tu dia cakap apa ni? To prevent this enzyme from digesting protein and fat in the skin of people who are handling them, the enzyme are packed into microscopic capsule. Okay, sekarang ni bila awak basuh baju kan, when you are dealing with the washing, bila awak nak basuh, mestilah awak akan pegang sabun tu, betul tak? So bila awak pegang sabun tu, it give chance for the enzyme, okay, to react on your skin. Contohlah dalam washing powder tu ada protease dan juga lipase. So tangan kita ni okay, ada protein. Sebab apa ni? Kulit kita is made up by keratin. Keratin tu is a example of the protein. So you will feel painful bila awak deal dengan washing powder tu. So how you can minimize the pain? So that's why this enzyme, okay, this to prevent this enzyme from digesting, okay, the enzyme are packed in a microscopic capsule. Ni awak tengok gambar ni. Okay, so dekat luar ni, ni macam jemput-jemput kan. Okay, dalam ni warna kuning ni adalah enzyme. So dekat luar ni kita packkan dia dengan apa? Dengan dengan microscopic capsule. Capsule ni macam apa panggil? Bola. Dalam tu ada enzyme. Okay, boleh faham? Okay, lepas tu apa dia cakap? The first biological washing powder only works in a warm rather than hot. Because protease in them has optimum temperature of 40 degrees Celsius. You have to know that every enzyme has their own optimum temperature, which is 37 until 40. 37 until 40 is the good range for the enzyme to works. Sebab itulah waktu guna hot, awak kena guna warm. Hot ni, bila when you use hot, it means that the temperature will be beyond 40 degrees Celsius. So when that happen, okay, the enzyme will be denatured. Bila enzyme denatured, apa jadi? So your stain cannot be removed from your cloth. Okay. However, protease have now been developed, okay, which can work in higher temperature. So since this is manufactured outside from human body, okay, so the scientist has managed, okay, to produce proteins that can deal with a higher temperature. So this proteins, okay, can often come from the bacteria which naturally live in the hot water or in the hot spring. So maksudnya tak perlu risaulah kalau awak guna air yang panas, okay. Why? Because the enzyme can still works. Okay, this is useful because other component of the washing powder can get rid of grease and other kinds of dirt. Okay, works best at this high temperature. Okay, boleh faham eh? Okay, and the next one is pectinase. Pectinase ni apa cikgu? Okay, awak ingat kalau ada perkataan ASE kat belakang ni, awak tengok kalau protis ASE, tapi ada S ni sebab menunjukkan banyak lah. Okay, lepas tu apa lagi ni? Lipase ASE kat belakang ni, betul tak? Ni boleh je jadi S ni. Pectinase, ada S, maksudnya ada banyak lah. Tapi root word dia ada belakang dia mesti ASE. ASE tu refer kepada enzyme. Kalau ada ASE belakang tu, mesti nama enzyme. Okay, sebab tu dia cakap ni, awak tengok enzyme called pectinase. Okay, fruit juice are extract using enzyme pectinase. So apa macam mana? Okay, kenapa macam tu? Awak tengok pectin is a substance which help to stick plant cell together. So maksudnya dalam plant cell ni adanya sejenis membrane. Nama membrane tu adalah pectin. Pectin tu akan menyebabkan plant cell tu dia melekat to each other. So a fruit such as apple or orange contain lots of pectin. So if the pectin is broken down, so it's much easier to squeeze the juice from the fruit. Pectinase tu dia akan break down pectin. So bila pectin is broken down, maksudnya plant cell tu they can be removed. Kenapa kita nak remove cikgu? Sebab kita nak buat jus. Betul tak? Okay, pectinase is widely used commercially both in the extraction of juice from fruit and in the making of juice rather than cloudy. So, for example, apa jus yang awak selalu dengar kan? Macam cikgu suka Tropicana Twister sebagai contoh kan. So, in order to produce juice quickly, so that factory usually they will use pectinase. Dia akan guna enzyme pectinase untuk produce juice quickly. Kenapa? Sebab pectinase will break down the pectin that stick the plant cell together. Okay. Okay, next. Dia buat. Okay. Okay. Okay guys, so next is about lactase. Lactase ni apa cikgu? Lactase sama macam tadi cikgu cerita, ASE mesti enzyme. Ingat lactase is an enzyme that break down lactose to which is the sugar found in the milk. Okay, dalam kita punya susu tak kisahlah susu apa, susu good day ke Dash Lady ke apa, mesti ada sugar. Sugar tu is in the form of lactose. So fungsi lactase tu adalah to break down lactose into glucose and galactose. Okay, awak tengok all human babies produce lactase in their digestive system. So maksudnya baby ni dia akan hasilkan enzim lah, which is lactase. Okay, specifically kat mana cikgu? Dekat small intestine. Okay, small intestine. Cikgu, kenapa small intestine? Awak kena ingat small intestine ni dia akan hasilkan 4 jenis enzim. Okay, tulis apa yang cikgu cakap kadang-kadang tak ada dalam buku. Okay, cikgu ulang balik Dalam kita punya small intestine ada 4 enzim yang akan dihasilkan. Smell, S-M-E-L. S tu sucrase, M maltase, E erepsin, L tu lactase. Ni lactase ni. Boleh faham? So why lactase is important? Because to digest lactose in the milk, okay, that is their only source of food for the first few months of their life. Okay, kalau baby ni kan, betul tak? Baby ni dia akan minum susu, betul tak? Dia akan minum susu. So dalam susu ni bukan setakat protein. Sebenarnya dalam susu pun ada lactose. Macam kita tahu kalau belajar kan, meat usually contain protein cikgu. Sebab apa? Apa? We we drink milk because we want to grow larger. Kita nak membesar kan. Tapi sebenarnya dalam meat tak semestinya ada protein sahaja, dia ada laktos. Faham tak? Ada laktos. So lactose tu need to be broken down into glucose and galactose. Sebab apa cikgu? Sebab awak tengok glukos ni. Glukos ni digunakan untuk apa? Untuk respiration. Sebab itulah baby masa kecil kan, dia tak makan nasi. Dia tak makan nasi. Dia hanya minum susu saja. Sebab dalam susu ada protein, ada laktos. Laktos tu ditukar kepada apa? Kepada glukos. So glukos ni guna untuk apa? Untuk respiration. Respiration untuk apa? Respiration untuk dapatkan tenaga. Sebab tu baby pun ada tenaga walaupun tak makan nasi. Walaupun they only rely on the food. Faham? So that's why lactase is very important to break down lactose into glucose and galactose. Kalau lactase tak ada, it will remain as a lactose. So lactose ni kita tak boleh serap, kita tak boleh dapat energi. Kita mesti tukar kepada glucose and galactose baru kita dapat energi. Baru baby tu dapat energi. Faham? Okay, some people, for example, those European descendants continue to make lactase, okay, all of their life. However, most people, for example, those Asian, okay, stop making lactase when they are adult. Maksudnya kita Asian kan, betul tak? Okay, kita Asian. So at one point when we are growing, our body will stop producing lactase. Faham tak? Tapi kalau European dia ada satu genetik tau. Genetik dia maksudnya lactase tu will always keep produce inside their body. Tapi kalau kita Asian, maksudnya some of Asian people will continue producing lactase. Some of them will stop. Macam cikgu, I am adult, right? I have my body can always produce lactase. Sebab apa? I can keep drinking milk. Cikgu boleh minum susu. Perasan tak? Ada certain orang, bila dia dah besar, dia tak boleh minum susu. Saya tak minum susu sebab nanti saya sakit perut. Saya tak boleh minum susu, nanti saya muntah. This is the reason why. Sebab apa? Some of them, their body stop producing lactase. So these people cannot digest lactose. Sebab apa? Bila tak ada lactase, tak bolehlah digest lactose. So they may feel ill if they drink or eat milk products such as cheese or cream. Okay. So milk can be tried with lactase to break down lactose, so that people who don't make lactase themselves can drink milk and eat product made from the lactose-free milk. Another reason for treating milk with lactose is to produce glucose and galactose, which can be used for making sweet. So sekarang ni we use microorganism to produce lactase. Okay, to produce lactase. Okay, sekarang ni contohlah this adult, their body stop producing lactase. Body dia tak hasilkan lactase dah. So what is the solution if they still want to drink milk? So sekarang ni solusi yang pertama adalah kita treat milk tu dengan lactase. Lactase tu datang daripada mana cikgu? Datang daripada bakteria ataupun microorganism yang hasilkan. Kan kita guna microorganism untuk hasilkan enzyme kan? So apa yang bakteria tu buat? Bakteria tu akan hasilkan lactase. Dan lactase tu akan terus tukar glukos kepada galactose. So that inside the milk tu, maksudnya tak ada lactose lah. Ada glucose and galactose. Maksudnya the adult will can directly drink the milk. As easy as that. Without having without being afraid to be ill. Tak perlu nak takut dah. Sebab apa? Sebab it is a lactose free milk. Sebab apa lactose free milk? Sebab lactose tu sudah ditukar kepada glucose and galactose. Boleh faham? Okay guys, so the next one which is about penicillin. Okay, ada berapa lagi? 1 2. Okay, ada sikit lagi Okay, the next one is penicillin. Apa tu penicillin? Penicillin tu adalah antibiotik lah. Okay. Okay, apa ni? Okay, tengok Okay, antibiotic are substance which kill bacteria without harming human cell. So we take antibiotic to cure bacterial infectious. Okay, so penicillin is made up by growing fungus, which is Penicillium in a larger fermenter. So maksudnya bakteria yang kita guna untuk menghasilkan penicillin adalah Penicillium. This is Penicillium. Penicillium is a microorganism ataupun fungus that make penicillin. Penicillin tu is a antibiotic. Macam bila awak demam ke, bila awak sakit tekak sikit kepala kan, doktor bagi awak antibiotik, betul tak? So actually antibiotic, okay, is gained from the bacteria. So how we can produce penicillin? Ni awak tengok ni. Ni. So this is a large fermenter. Fermenter ni kita letak siapa? Kita letak penicillium. Penicillium tu siapa cikgu? Penicillium tu lah yang fungus ataupun microorganism tu. Sebab apa? Penicillium ni lah akan hasilkan penicillin. Cikgu dah gagap dah ni. Okay. So apa yang akan jadi? Awak tengok Okay, cerita apa ni? Penicillium is grown in a culture medium containing carbohydrate and amino acid. So dalam fermenter ni, dia letak apa? Dia letak penicillium dan juga karbohidrat dan juga amino acid. Okay. So the content of fermenter looks like a bit watery porridge. Maksudnya dalam ni nampak macam bubur yang berair. Bukan macam bubur McD. They are stir continuously. So kita gaul lah dia. Kita gaul dia. Okay, this is not only to keep fungus in contact with the fresh supply of the nutrient and mix oxygen to the culture, but also roll the fungus up into a little pellets. Okay, this make it easy, okay, to separate the liquid from the culture which contain penicillin from fungus and later stage. So maksudnya sekarang ni, dalam ni kita letak penicillin, kita letak karbohidrat dan kita letak amino acid, and then we continuously stir them. Okay, kita akan continuously stir them supaya apa? Supaya all the penicillium can get carbohydrate and amino acid. Betul tak? Okay, cikgu, kenapa karbohidrat tu diperlukan by penicillin? Karbohidrat contohnya apa? Contohnya adalah glukos. Sepatutnya digunakan perkataan glukos kat sini. Why glucose is important? Because penicillin need energy. Energy get from where? Get from glucose. So bila ada glucose, maksudnya adalah they can have energy. Energy tu kenapa kena ada penicillin? Sebab apa dia nak hasilkan? Dia nak hasilkan penicillin. Betul tak? So kalau dia nak buat kerja, mestilah dia kena ada tenaga. Okay, kalau amino acid untuk apa cikgu? Untuk grow, untuk membesar. Betul lah, sebab apa? Semakin when the penicillium grow, so it's mean that more penicillin can be produced. Betul tak? For grow lah amino acid ni, protein. Lepas tu kalau awak perasan, they also bubble to provide oxygen. Betul lah, sebab apa? Respiration also require oxygen dan juga glucose. Boleh faham? Lepas tu ni awak tengok ni, culture remove after fermentation is completed. Ni lubang dia lah. Bila dia dah hasilkan penicillin, kita akan remove ke bawah lah. Okay. Ni penicillium, okay, and sugar are added. Ni this is to add, okay, more penicillium dan juga karbohidrat tu lah. Okay. Okay, lepas tu apa lagi dia cakap ni? To begin with, the fungus just grow. This stage take about 15 to 24 hours. After that, it begins to secrete penicillin. Faham tak? Sekarang ni, bila dah grow dalam ni, okay, dia akan hasilkan penicillin. Itu yang kita nak. Okay, the rate at which it produce penicillin partially depend on how much sugar has available. Sebab itulah kat sini, dia akan keep giving sugar ataupun karbohidrat ataupun glukos lah. Okay, if there is a lot of sugar, then not much of penicillin is made. If there is no sugar at all, no penicillium is made. So a small amount of sugar have to be fed into a fermenter all the time so that the fungus can keep producing penicillin. Maksudnya awak tak boleh lah nak letak banyak sangat sugar. Awak kena letak so-so. Awak kena letak as much as they are required. Tak boleh terlebih, tak boleh terkurang. Just a balanced amount of glucose that penicillium require. Okay, the culture is kept going until it is decided that the rate of penicillin production has slowed down so much that it is not worth waiting anymore, and this is often after about a week. Although the exact time that can vary a lot on the other side of it. And then the culture is filtered and the liquid is treated to concentrate penicillin which is contained. So maksudnya at some point, okay, at some point dia fermenter tu dia akan notice oh maksudnya rate of penicillin tu dah makin berkurang. Bila rate of penicillin berkurang, dia akan ganti dengan penicillium yang baru. Sebab apa? The current penicillium is about to die. Bila biasalah macam manusia kan, at one point kita akan mati, betul tak? Sama juga dengan penicillium. So when the rate of penicillin production getting low, dia akan remove lah dan dia akan replace with a new penicillin. Okay. Okay guys. Yeah. Okay guys, so let's continue. Next is about okay, next is about apa? Sorry. Ni blur pula ni. Okay, next is about genetic engineering. Tadi kita belajar pasal biotechnology. Sekarang ni kita nak belajar pasal genetic engineering. Okay, so genetic engineering So we have seen a gene is a length of DNA that codes for production of particular protein in the cell. We are now be able to take genes from one organism and put them in another organism. So maksudnya genetic engineering ni kita ambil satu gene yang bagus daripada satu organism tu, lepas tu kita letak kepada organism yang lain. Itu masuk genetic engineering. So these are the genetic engineering has been done in 1970s. So apa yang dia discover adalah insulin. Insulin ni is a hormone, okay? Is a hormone needed to convert. Okay, cikgu bagi penerangan sikit lah. Okay, insulin ni is a hormone needed to convert glucose into glycogen. Okay, so insulin ni is very important for the patient who suffer from type 1 diabetes. So maksudnya we can produce insulin using bacteria. To treat whom? To treat patient that suffer from type 1 diabetes. So how this can be done? The human insulin gene was inserted into bacteria. So maksudnya dalam badan manusia kita akan hasilkan insulin, betul tak? So we take that gene and we put inside the bacteria. So sekarang ni bakteria tu ada gene untuk hasilkan insulin. So what happen next? They are now grown in a huge vat. Okay, so maksudnya bakteria tu dia akan membiak. So bila bakteria tu membiak, they will produce a lot of insulin and we can extract insulin for what? To treat diabetes patient. Lepas tu apa lagi ni? Ini contoh yang pertama. Contoh yang kedua, crops plant have been genetically modified to be resistant to herbicide or insect pest. Okay, so maksudnya kita ambil gene pokok yang boleh tahan dengan herbicide dengan insect pest ni. So that we can grow a plant that can resist from these two. Okay, for example, soya plant has been genetically modified. So what? So that they are not harmful with herbicide called glyphosate is sprayed onto them. This means that the farmer can spray a field of this plant with herbicide and only weed are killed. So maksudnya bila tumbuh-tumbuhan tu dia ada gene yang mana it can withstand with the herbicide. Okay, so bila farmer tu dia sembuh racun herbicide ni, okay, this herbicide will not kill the plant. Instead, it will kill the weed. Weed ni maksudnya macam lalang-lalang, okay, ataupun pokok-pokok yang tak diperlukan lah. Okay, cotton plant has been genetically modified so that they contain a substance called Bt, which is a toxic to the insect. Okay, so the insect pests such as cotton boll weevil are killed if they eat the cotton plant. So maksudnya some of the plant ni kita buatkan dia ni jadi toksik. So bila pest tu makan, pest tu akan mati. So this can reduce the use of pesticide. Lagi apa lagi ni dia cakap ni? Rice has been genetically modified to produce more vitamin A than normal rice. Menarik. So the rice grain are yellow, so called golden rice. Siapa pernah makan ni? Cikgu rasa golongan kayangan kot. Nama lagi golden rice kan. Lack of vitamin A is a problem for the children in some parts of the world. Okay, particularly where their diets mainly consist of white rice. Okay, severe vitamin A deficiency can cause blindness. So bila kita kurang vitamin A, dia akan menyebabkan pada buta lah, ataupun awak akan dapat rabun. So this is thought to kill more than 1 million of people each day. So maksudnya when we use genetic engineering, we can modify the rice so that the rice can have more vitamin A. So when we feed on the rice, we also can gain more vitamin A. Tapi ni awak tengok ni, there are some concerns about the use of genetic modified crops. So bila kita modify crops ataupun kita modify something tu, okay, guna genetic engineering, ada beberapa benda yang kita kena persoalkan lah, sebab benda ni dah mengubah bentuk asal, kejadian asal benda tu. Mestilah ada good and bad effect, betul tak? Okay, for example, some people have argued that golden rice is not the way to solve problems caused by vitamin A deficiency. They say that it would be better to solve the cause of this problem, which is that people do not have enough money or enough food in some parts of the world. Others argue that at least golden rice may be able to help some people from now, whereas trying to get rid of poverty is not easily done. So bila golden rice is introduced to the society, you have to remember the price is not the same. Mestilah mahal golden rice kan. So it means that golden rice is not suitable solution for vitamin A deficiency. Why? Because only rich people, okay, can afford to buy it. How about the poor people? Poor people maksudnya dia tak membantulah kan, sebab they cannot afford buying the golden rice. Golongan-golongan marhain ni makan nasi, makan beras, cak rambutan je. Kalau yang kain-kaingan je lah boleh makan golden rice. Okay.